Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today. It's going to be a rematch of a previous match I cast. negativeZero, a returning Protoss bot that's looking quite good, taking on Caninana, a Zerg bot that is known for having very good late game. And these two played in the previous match, and they both looked very good. However, it seemed Caninana kind of played a little bit unlike itself. It really committed to an attack instead of macroing and playing the match out. So I decided I'd cast it again because I feel like Caninana didn't quite reach its full potential. Of course, with these bots, they could always do a similar strategy, so you never really know if a game's going to look identical to the last one. And that's why I decided to cast this, just to see if things are a little bit different or not, as there is quite a bit of variability in these bot games. We have different maps, bots have randomness built into them, different strategies, that kind of thing. And so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to go ahead and click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more bots. And then join the Discord, which is linked in the description down below. And there's also another link down there that if you do want to play versus these bots, someone programmed a very, very neat application that allows you to actually play versus the bots. They've clearly put a lot of work into it. It was Cryptic that made the app, or Crypt that made the app. So yeah, it's actually very awesome to play versus the bots. I've posted a couple videos, and I'm gonna cast some of the games on the channel, I think. So this is a bit of a call to action. If you happen to still have StarCraft 2 installed on your PC, go ahead and yeah, play versus some of the bots and send the replays my way. There's a great tutorial that was made, and it allows us to, it's fairly straightforward to play versus them, which is incredible. Speaking of incredible, a cool wall from negativeZero to actually block those lings getting on in, although I don't know if it was like a full wall, because that ling almost made it through and the pylon wasn't fully blocking. Anyway, we do have 3 batteries from negativeZero, so the Protoss bot is potentially going to be getting aggressive here, whereas Caninana, it's firing up some lings. As far as the chat tags go, Caninana just kind of keeping tabs on everything. And of course, negativeZero said GLHF with the little heart emoji. Now we've got negativeZero building up adepts, building up quite a wall at its natural base. This adept comes on in, and what is it shooting? It's shooting the battery. I guess, is this a solid wall? No, that adept's clipping through there, so it's not quite a wall. It's just like the mother of all choke points. And then this adept has decided that it hates this shield battery for some reason. I don't know if it's just trying to kill that to open the wall up a little bit, or what, because if that was intentional, you think all the units would be attacking that. The adepts for negativeZero are sending out their periodic shades across the map. Meanwhile, Caninana is just doing its thing, firing up some drones, getting a roach warren on the way. But however, it did make quite a few speedlings to react to any sort of aggression, which is something I can definitely get behind, as lings, as far as Caninana goes, seem to be quite a strong defensive tool. And then we're going to have to keep eyes on whether... Yeah, because this is quite a bit of a different defense. I think Caninana went primarily roaches in the previous match, and it went overboard in the roaches. Now, we're going to see whether the Zerg bot can muster a defense here. This is quite the move out for negativeZero. 7 adepts, a stalker, and 2 zealots. That's actually a lot of ling killing potential, as the Protoss bot really commits on this one base, notably keeping 1 stalker back at home to have that solid wall. Now Caninana, we'll see if it's going to fire up units as a response to this. It is catching a few of the adepts, as negativeZero's attack is actually repulsed. I guess the Protoss bot saw all those lings and said, nope, I can't do that, which I think is a little bit unfortunate, because now it will be significantly behind. Caninana is making some roaches, getting up a 3rd hatchery. negativeZero is just firing up its natural nexus. So I would have liked to see it actually commit to that attack, but it didn't. So we'll just we'll just have to see whether it can play this game out. Of course, there is a very strong wall for negativeZero at the front. It's got 2 batteries. So even if Caninana does potentially attack, negativeZero will be in quite a nice defensive position. And the rules are a little bit different in the bot games. Bots can be at more of an economic disadvantage and then still win the game. And that's not because of like the speed mining or anything like that. It's simply because bots are less optimized to capitalize on things like this. Like, yeah, they simply don't. Human players simply don't invest in this many units and then not really do anything with them. Whereas bots are more catch-all, so to speak. So now we do have Caninana macroing way harder than it did in the previous match, which is exciting. It's got that 4th base on the way already, going up to 45, 50 workers, which is more than it reached in the previous match. So we are going to have a much stronger macro game from Caninana, which I'm excited for, to see how these two do in the late game against each other, if the match makes it that far. We are seeing negativeZero move out with another attack. It's made a comical amount of zealots. 8 slow zealots moving across the map. 5 adepts to support them. Now at Caninana, it's got roaches out, and it does have burrows, so the roaches should just be safe. However, there is 2 observers that have been produced. Zealots are doing a good job buffering for the adepts, which are getting some damage done. The adepts do complete their shade towards the natural base. However, Caninana just plants those drones like potatoes. So it seems like that is quite a successful defense for starters. The adepts are still going to be able to potentially deny some mining time, maybe kill off a few drones. So Caninana is taking a hit to its economy, as these adepts can keep shading around and causing problems. That's the beauty of adepts. They can be a problem in one place, and then all of a sudden, they're a problem in another. It does seem that negativeZero wants to try and keep the adepts in the natural. That seems to be the main focus of these units. And as a bot author, you do have to pick where you want your units to generally attack. However, they're actually getting a lot of efficiency, denying mining at the natural, denying mining in the main, keeping Caninana's army busy, and then the adepts are actually going to shade on out of there. We'll see if they all get out. Looks like 3 of them did, but then they're kind of pulled back to the natural. However, they see the roaches and they're like, we better get out of here. So they really are keeping these roaches busy as negativeZero invests in a 3rd base. It's got Blink on the way, and an Immortal has been produced, so there is some roach killing potential. I am still concerned, though, because Caninana is on that very strong Zerg economy that it likes to use so well. As we've got sentries and zealots wandering back home. Looks like a roach kills a zealot. Almost gets a sentry, too. negativeZero's wall may be tested if Caninana moves out for an attack. At the same time, Caninana could simply macro up until it hits 200 supply, as it does have 1-1 on the way. Neural Parasite on the way. We're getting an Evo Chamber coming on out too, and that is a 5th hatchery on the way for the Zerg. And while negativeZero is macroing, making lots of workers, that kind of thing, as many as it can on 2 bases, it is still simply behind from the opening. The Protoss bot is still just staying at home for the most part. It looks like it wants to move out, though, which I'm not sure is the right decision. However, there is 2 Immortals in the army. There's a Disruptor being added on, Blink being added into the mix. Looks like this Changeling is actually going to distract some of this army. And I am a little bit concerned to your forward negativeZero if it moves out for an attack. I think Caninana's got quite a killer force. There is 15 roaches moving out on the map. The Stalkers don't quite have Blink. That Stalker's like, oh man, Blink, please finish. I got to get out of here. And it does. Blinking over the rocks. Very cool behavior there. We now have Immortals out on the map skirmishing with the roaches, but the roaches, they can always burrow and retreat with their tunneling claws. So negativeZero is going to be getting pressured a little bit hard. Caninana realizing that it's going to be up against Disruptors, so we'll have to keep eyes on how those are going to be used. They do not have a lot of forgiveness for roaches, so they can burrow all they want. If a Disruptor gets on top of them, they're just dead. Now, speaking of dead, these Immortals could be in trouble. One barely makes it back to the battery. The other makes it back to a battery, staying alive. However, it's really bogged down in this wall. That one Immortal staying alive is so important, though, as negativeZero really needs those to kill these roaches. I'm not sure if its wall's working for it or against it. We do have a Stalker trying to be a hero and defend the 3rd base, which negativeZero absolutely must do. There is another Immortal about to pop out. Battery overcharge being utilized to heal up these Protoss units. That's going to potentially allow negativeZero to push out. The supply is concerning right now, though, and so are upgrades. I do love how negativeZero is producing 3 Immortals at a time. A Disruptor goes out, kills a roach. Good targeting. Disruptors firing on another Disruptor just about, though. And the wall really is being tested as Caninana is doing its Ling Flood thing, which I am 100% here for. Ling's in the third base as a cannon is trying to defend, but the third is really being ransacked here. And then an Immortal and Stalkers are trying to hold the wall, but negativeZero now no longer has a third base. It's at 86 supply to 180. And all of a sudden, Caninana is looking way better than it did in the previous match. I think it probably just has this one as the Ling Flood continues on. The Lings really are one of the strongest things of Caninana. It makes so many, and it's so darn aggressive with them. And just the composition and the usage of them is generally quite on point. So, yeah, negativeZero just crumples in the face of Caninana, delaying its natural Nexus, I think a little bit too much in the face of that natural. So Caninana kind of won the opening chess match there because negativeZero, I think it saw the early pool of Caninana, so it delayed its Nexus, or that may just be the way that it's designed to be programmed. However, Caninana, like, it made a couple units, defended the attacks, then macroed up faster than negativeZero, so it had more stuff and was able to push on in. So, well done to Caninana. It is cool to see that it was able to beat negativeZero after having a bit of a poor showing in the previous match. And it just goes to show that there is selection bias when it comes to me picking these replays, because naturally I tend to click on longer replays. Like a 11-minute game like this one isn't one that I always cast on the channel because I feel like it's not quite long enough for the bots to really develop and everything. At the same time, though, I was curious, like, which bot wins the longer games, which one wins the shorter games, and the reason for that is that maybe Caninana didn't go into mass roach production. That pretty much is the reason for it. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you do enjoy seeing how these bots interact with each other, go ahead and click that like button. If we can hit, let's go for 50 likes on this video, that would be amazing. Leave a comment down below saying more bots, more potatoes, more Terminators, whatever it may be. And then join the Discord, which is linked down below. As you can submit your replays to the Discord. I got a channel in there for it. And that will go, yeah, and then I'll get around to casting them once there's a few in there. So, yeah, if you're a Starcraft player of any level, I mean, around Diamond or so is probably a good level to have close matches against the bots. But if you're lower, you can always try and cheese them out and send me the replays. I'm sure there'll be some wacky games as a result of players of all levels playing against these bots. And so then, yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.